Welcome to Authentic Space Podcast with Kasha and Co, who live their lives unapologetically. First ever episode of Authentic Space Podcast that we record in person.
Together. In one space.
In one spot, somewhere in the world. We're not going to tell you where. And it's the first one, though.
Yep. Across from each other.
Shit. We're actually looking at each other and staring at our eyes and trying not to move too much. Because the mic that we're using is like super sensitive. So it's like, don't move, don't breathe. Just, whatever. Don't make any movement. But yeah. First time that we actually recorded in person, which is great, which is awesome. It's weird.
It's overdue.
It's totally overdue. Totally overdue. Absolutely. But it's also kind of like a strange situation because obviously the way that the podcast was born is, was that it was two friends like calling each other, right? So it's just
internationally too.
Yeah. So but now we are on the same continent. Again, we're not gonna say which one. But yeah, so it's special. First one, hopefully not the last one that we record in person and with each other.
Maybe
together.
We can play a game and have them guess which one.
Oh, that's nice. Guessing that. I mean, that's probably gonna be easy though for them. It's either or, right?
Well, right, but you either get it or you don't.
That's true. Okay, so cookie points for those of you who actually guess in which continent we are, and extra brownie points if you get exactly or kind of geographically where in that continent we are.
Well,
how about that?
Not physical brownie points.
Not physical brownie points. We're not paying for shipping. We're not sending you cookies. It's just like a silly game, but I think it's a good idea. Yeah, we're together.
Good to be back.
Good to be back.
In our next episode.
And I have personally been taking some time off since last time we recorded our episode. And I have been turning off, disconnecting, relaxing, just like really like sleeping and like doing nothing but like reading, eating, drinking, whatever, visiting, and it's been absolutely great because we say this a lot of times in our recordings, in our podcasts, that in our episodes, that sometimes all you need is just to turn completely off, and to just to just let yourself be, right?
To reconnect with yourself, right?
Yeah, as well. I feel like there's one thing that I was reading the other day about, productivity and how we define productivity, right? It's like productivity is not how much you work. It's really what you can do while you're also resting and giving yourself time to recuperate.
That's also productivity, right?
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you're not rested enough, then you're gonna not be maybe efficient at what you're doing or something. You're gonna lose time, you're gonna lose yourself, etc. So yeah, it's kind of like part of that concept, right?
Yeah. So even if you are taking time for yourself, you're actually being productive in filling your own cup.
Yes, exactly, because obviously you cannot pour from an empty cup. So yeah. And that's kind of like thinking made me kind of gets me to the point that I wanted to discuss today, and it's based on a recent conversation I had with a very good friend of mine who has transitioned to the freelance life in the recent years, after just quitting her corporate job, and she's quite a very interesting person, a very special person, because she's like me and many others of us that quit the corporate world, for example, where she is what Marie Forleo calls like a multi-passionate entrepreneur, which basically means that you are someone who doesn't just concentrate on a specific passion or has just one passion project, whatever, but you have many interests, you have many passions, you have many things that you love doing, right?
Instead of focusing on just one and delving in and really becoming like an expert at it.
Exactly.
To the core.
Which that option is also good. I mean, we're not saying obviously that either or, it's not an either or situation. I think this is kind of like the thing with our podcast and the way we talk to each other and the topics that we do. It's never either or, right?
Yeah.
It's
It's never
just
right or wrong.
no,
It's never black or white.
whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, it's about finding balance in everything that we do and our being and what we, eat, how we act, you know,
Exactly.
how we use our energy.
Yeah, basically, so she has a lot of different parts of her life that make her happy, right? So imagine you are someone that enjoys, I'm just going to give an example, like a practical example, because that helps to understand what we're actually talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use my example. So I am a creative, right? Which means that there are a lot of creative things that I like doing, and it doesn't necessarily just end at I like to create graphics, or I like to create visuals or something like that. But I also like writing. I also like having a podcast. I also like talking about life with friends. I also love helping friends figuring out their business ideas and things like that. So we are, as human beings, not monodimensional, right? We are multifaceted. We have different parts and different fragments in our life that make us who we are. And so I'm having this conversation with her, and as I said, she's transitioned to fully to the freelance life, and she has her like kind of a big contract that she's working on, and then it feels like we kind of started talking about how we're doing currently, and I go back to what I was mentioning one of the previous episodes where I'm feeling like overwhelmed because I'm doing what I love, but I don't exactly like the way I'm doing it because it doesn't leave me any time for like almost anything else. And
For
this
all the other aspects of you that
exactly.
you would like to have.
And I think that I was talking to her because she's kind of feeling the same, and it's like that feeling of overwhelm stems out of I'm doing something I love, but it's like controversially, I'm doing too much of it. So I'm doing too much of only one of the things that make me who I am, right? And you're like, well, that's what you've
So
built,
yeah,
right?
so if she's this type of a person that has so many different aspects and interests that she wants to pursue, right? It's almost like she feels like she's not able to, she has to choose one over
Exactly.
other ones.
And now the reflection that I go from here, which for me was very inspiring to have this conversation with her, because again, we are going through like professionally, we're going through a very similar path in this sense. And it's just exactly that, like kind of thinking about it, if you think about it, you're picking one main thing, right? So you're picking, I'm doing that. But it actually means that you're technically going against your nature
Well,
to a certain extent.
but if you think about it, how are we raised, right? And what is our upbringing? You go to school, you kind of, you have to pick a major when you go to college. And then you have to stick to that major. What can you do with that major? And then you go into the workforce.
Yeah.
And everyone is looking for that experience.
Yeah.
No one, it's very hard to find people that, or companies when they're hiring, that actually look for transferable skills. They look for experience. How many years of experience
Do you have doing this or that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is your level? Maybe it's a bit of a promotion. Maybe you get the same job with the same title, but maybe more pay or better benefits. Maybe it's from being in the office to working remotely. But you're still in the same field.
Yeah.
Which again, for it can work for some people. But if you're not that type of linear personality where you do have kind of a series of different interests that you want to pursue and kind of delve into, it's really hard to do.
And I think it comes from the idea that it's predictable. So I know I'm hiring you to be an assistant. I can predict that these are your functions. This is what you're gonna do. Everything is gonna be tidy and controllable to a certain extent. And why do we do this? Because why are we brought up like this? Probably because There's so many of us, and it's just an easy way not to have complete chaos where it's like, I'm expecting this from you, and now I'm talking on a professional level, but then this obviously extends on the personal level and life level as a human being. But it's something that as a company owner, whatever, or in the corporate world, is something I can control. I know that there is some sort of expectation that I have from
A
you.
structure.
Exactly.
You have to
It's
be here on
predictable.
time, and it's right.
It's
And you're
predictable.
not stepping out of the box, right?
I'm getting what I paid for. I want to go to a bakery and be able to buy bread. But maybe the owner of the bakery also likes flowers. And so they decide that, yes, I'm selling bread, but on the side, I also have a huge passion for flowers. And so I'm going to sell flowers as well, right? So it's that kind of idea that I am not just a creative, I'm not just a graphic designer, you know?
Well, you said it. You're not just a graphic designer. You're a creative,
Exactly. It's like
and
that umbrella of
it's
things.
it's on it's a broad
Yeah.
topic, but it has so many different components to it under the umbrella,
Yeah.
and it could all mean being creative.
Yeah. But there is a limitation to that, obviously, because you say, like, oh, I'm a creative. And as like someone else on the other side could be like, but what does that actually mean? Like, we've said this many times. Like, when people ask me, like, what do you do, whatever, people don't really understand or don't have a grasp, because we are brought up with that idea that you are that, and it's explainable, it's controllable. I know exactly what it is, sort of like, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a singer, I'm a
it, it
dancer.
it's the common labels that we all know what they mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in the society that we live in, you need to be able to put labels on things. You need to be able to identify things, and because it's, as I said, again, I'm repeating myself, but it's like it's more controllable. It's more. You can predict it. It's more predictable. And so I go on having a conversation with my friend, and then I say, yeah, but you also have to think that you are A, but you're also B, and you're also C and D. Will A, B, C, and D all make you money and all be skills that you can develop professionally? Maybe not. Maybe C is a hobby. Maybe C is something that you do to, like we were saying yesterday, I play Sudoku or something like that. I've just started playing Sudoku. It just brings my head away. Am I going to make money out of playing Sudoku? No, it's a hobby, right? But as I said, as a creator, I am not just a creator of
you
images.
you could find an app
I could
that pays you to
There you
play
go.
Sudoku.
Definitely. We're not closing up any, possibilities, of course. But for the sake of this example, let's
Yes.
say. No, it's just like, you know, again, I'm a
Yeah.
creator, and I am giving myself a label, but I am giving myself a label that encompasses a lot of different aspects. And I understand that it can be confusing for people. It's like, yeah, you're a creator. Like, it's like, I'm air or I'm water or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it can be maybe too general, because then people don't understand that being a creative means I create with images, I create with words, I create with things. So that means I can be a writer at the same time, I can be a designer, and I can be someone who's crafting with their hands, right? So, and if you look at these things from a like societal perspective, it looks like three completely unrelated things.
Yeah.
And the fact that we are incapable and we're not taught to create connections between things that are important to us and we're passionate about is where the problem lies.
Yeah, that is a really hard thing to do for people. And there's also the concept of, like you said, not everything needs to be a paying job, right?
Yes.
So also there could be a question of like, how do I want to leave the legacy behind, right?
Yeah.
Which does not always mean a career or a profession that I'm gonna pay the bills with.
Mm.
And so, everyone needs to have some sort of a job that makes you money.
Of course.
And sometimes, again, it's still good to have kind of be fulfilled in terms of using some of your skills that help you kind of work through the job and be kind of thriving in a way, or fulfilling that part A or part B of you, but it doesn't mean that that's supposed to be your whole life.
And by extension, being A, B, C, D does not mean that D excludes A or that C excludes B or something like that, right? So
Absolutely.
you can be a financial advisor part-time and a health coach the other rest of the day, because that's who you are.
Yeah.
This is the person you are. You are someone who's interested in finance and like money and like, you name it, whatever. But you could also be someone who's really interested in, alternative healing or, like more health stuff that technically, if you look at it from a superficial point of view, they might not be related.
Yeah.
But they are part of you, and you see the connection there. For me, there is a connection,
being multifaceted, and it's not always within the same arena.
Right.
It also brings me back to a conversation we had some time ago where, we were talking about full-time versus part-time jobs, right? We go to college, we pick a major, we pick a career, and then based on whatever, right? Maybe our initial interest, maybe our families, maybe money, maybe some sort of a status, maybe which job is going to get me the quickest to whatever place we want to be. But the assumption is you have to get a full-time job.
You have to get a full-time job.
Yes. And I remember, a while ago when I had a part-time job, and then I was doing a bunch of other things kind of on part-time basis, freelancing, my business, what have you. People would always ask me, well, you're here part-time, what do you do the rest of the
day?
week?
Yeah.
And what if, and I did other things too, but it was just not, they weren't able to comprehend that an adult person is only at this job part-time.
It almost sounds like it's not work, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're working part-time and then what? Like,
now,
I mean, yeah, I'm working part-time. Maybe the rest of the day I want to sit on my ass. Like, and
exactly.
Then what's wrong?
And
does that make me less of you? No.
Right. So what if money is not an issue for me, right? And I just want to work part-time, and then all the other days I want to either spend time taking care of my family or my garden or just doing a hobby or volunteer, right? So not everything has to be monetary based.
Exactly. And that's, I think, the big turning point here. That's the big difference. Because there is this kind of assumption that your work is what makes you money. Your hobby is what you're passionate about, right? So this distinction is what creates the crack in this whole way of thinking, right? To me, it's just like, no, I mean, I'm approaching, sewing. So Ben and my friends got me this amazing sewing machine for my birthday this year. And it's like, I want to do more with it. I want to be able to develop the skill. Will I be able to make something that then I can profit from and sell it? Sure. I can do that.
You could, maybe.
I could.
You might not want to.
But I don't have to.
You
exactly.
don't have to.
But at the same time, that also means that we are stepping away from the concept that you are professionally just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it applies, I think it's easier to understand at the personal level, meaning that at the personal level, I like cooking, I like reading, and I like listening to music, and I like traveling. So these are all 4 different things that can be related to each other, etc. But now let's make the mental experiment and mental translation of, let's transpose these 4 things to the professional world, or rather the concept behind that, the concept of being able to be multi-passionate in your private life.
If you choose to. Or if that's your,
of course,
I guess, quote unquote calling.
Exactly. Or also accept the fact that you can be multi-passionate at the professional level as well, which means that you're literally not putting all your eggs in the same basket. which is what I was telling my friend. And I said, look, if you are going to put all your eggs in one basket, you are going to miss the other basket. This is just because you have these two callings in your life, let's say general callings in your life, and all of a sudden, if you do too much of one, you are going to feel overwhelmed and you're going to feel like you're missing the other stuff, which is exactly what's happening to me. Like, I am on a full time contract right now and I am working on something that I absolutely love. It makes me so happy. I work with amazing people. I'm really, really excited about what I do. I want to go to work. Well, I work from home, but still, you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy to turn on my computer and start whatever. But there are a couple of different things that make me who I am, that I am kind of like leaving on the back burner. And I don't like that. So I need to learn myself to create space and time for those other things.
Balance it, right?
And balance.
So everything has room to thrive within you.
Exactly. And this is what I told my friend as well. And I think it's important to remember that even at the professional level, you can be a financial advisor and a meditation trainer at the same time. You can do it part-time, and I think it's going to make you feel, as you say, more balanced. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel happier. I had a period of my life where I was like missing the graphic design part, and I was more doing like events and things like that. And as much as I like organizing events and I'm pretty good at it, I was missing like the graphic design part of it. Like, I was like, I'm not designing. I feel like I'm like losing the skill, whatever. And so I subconsciously transitioned towards assignments that were more graphic design. But I went too far on the extreme.
Yeah.
Which means that then for a year and a half,
you kind of replaced it with the other extreme.
Exactly. So it's not a matter of replacing one for the other for like limited periods of time. Is being able to balance both at the same time, so that you have the mental space to develop one side and the other as well.
Yeah,
equally.
And doing balance doesn't mean it has to be 50-50. It doesn't mean it has to be 30-30-30.
No.
You have to figure out what balance is to you, right? When I think you and I had this conversation some time ago where I was doing design, interior design with feng shui, and even though like I absolutely love it, I'm freaking good at it, but to do it as a full-time job, it almost defeats the purpose of it. I love it, but I want to do a project here and there. I want to do it because I have that spark of inspiration, and everything just turns into a beautiful effect, as opposed to, well, let me get a job because I do love it and I'm so good at it and I can just, it was boring.
It has I have the perfect example in my own life with that, which is wedding planning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, it's that part of like wedding planning and wedding management puts together event management
Mm-hmm.
and creativity, right? So, and like more of like, things that you do with your hands, or that you can, like flower arrangements or like graphic design as well. So it just kind of puts the whole thing together.
Yeah.
I love wedding planning. I haven't done a lot of weddings so far. I have done, since I got married myself, which was my biggest, obviously, assignment, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I've done, four or five, at different degrees of involvement, So there was maybe a couple where I was just working on their, like, graphic decorations, and, like welcome signs and things like that, to a more of, like, organizing it from A to Z, including catering and, all the setup and stuff.
And it's also sporadic too. Like, you did it at different times.
Exactly. This is what makes it special.
Yeah.
And this is like when you're referring to like the couple of design projects here and there. I think that, like, again, I know I will be good at doing it full time.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be as nice for me.
The same fulfillment.
Exactly.
And it's on the same note, right? So, with my example about design feng shui, it doesn't make me less of a feng shui consultant or an interior decorator if I do a project once a month. Exactly. Or if I do it whenever I feel like it, as opposed to doing it on full-time basis.
And that hits the point to the nail, because it's like when you apply for a job or something like that, everyone just asks you like for experience and stuff. And I find myself, when I present my services, that I present my experience to show like I can actually do this. But then you have these projects, like I was telling you last night about this new project that I will probably start very shortly with a restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's like when I talk to them, it was just kind of like a random conversation I had with the owner of the restaurant. Like one night, then me and Ben went for dinner, and he's, you know, the partner of a friend and stuff. And so we were just talking about communication and social media, and like obviously we were discussing food and Italian culture and the Italian culture of food, and which is something that I'm super passionate about. And then we were like talking to each other about all these amazing topics, and you know, he was in need of some specific advice, and I'm like, I find myself saying, this is my advice and I would love to work with you, but I have no specific experience in
Prior
this field.
experience that you can show off.
And you were like totally conditioned to say that.
Yeah.
And even now that I'm seeing it, it's like, what the heck? You have no experience.
I mean,
yeah, but
it is the conditioning.
Totally. Because it's like, why would I hire you? Why would I I think it's also a matter of what type of job we're talking about, because this reasoning does not work for everyone, right? Like, why would I hire you to build my bathroom if you have never done it and if you don't know anything about plumbing, for example? But that's kind of like more like of a specific knowledge that you need to have.
Yeah.
Because for safety reasons, for like, you know, things like that. Like a doctor, like obviously you wouldn't hire a doctor that is not officially a doctor or something, you know, like, well,
then again,
well, yeah, fair enough. Well, yeah, okay, that's a totally, but you know what I mean though, like it's kind of like there is a bit of a difference.
No, I know what you mean. I'm just trying to pull some strings there, but no, totally, absolutely.
But I think that the plumbing example is just, you know, it's like, oh, I would love to be building bathrooms because I know I'll be amazing at it, but I've never done it. And so
honestly,
it's like,
you know, back in the days in my old life, I did a lot of recruiting, a lot of HR, and I've interviewed so many people. I have to say, those questions that they ask in interviews, like, I just cannot.
Oh my God, I know.
And even that question that you just mentioned, why should we hire you?
Yeah.
First of all, it's not about me hiring you. We are interviewing each other.
It's something that goes both ways. That's true.
It goes two ways.
Why do I want to work for you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of people asking that question.
Yeah.
To the company or to.
But it would totally be fair, though.
It would be totally fair.
Absolutely. But then again, you see, like even in my practical example, I just catch myself and I'm like, I don't have anything in my portfolio. Like, I can show you that I can video edit. I can show you that I am a good content creator on socials and that I am a digital creator. So I understand the medium, I understand the tools, etc. But I have no specific example.
Yeah.
But then to show you and to say like, pay me for this. I'm
Yes.
going to do this for you. You're just going to have to like, to a certain extent, trust me.
Yeah.
And it's like, he said something like.
Or discern, right? Whether you would be a good fit
or not. And then he's like, which is something that I absolutely love, is this. We had a 3-hour conversation during which I showed to him that I have a understanding of his art and of the food that he creates, that we are on the same page. So the fact that maybe I don't have previous experience in creating content for that specific niche doesn't really matter. I have the skills, the transferable skills that we were talking about, like to actually make it happen.
Mm-hmm. I do have to say though, I feel like it is, the way people get jobs, especially like people that are not, let's say, in the corporate world or kind of the 9-to-5 jobs, they're kind of a bit more creative in terms of being entrepreneurial and maybe risk takers, kind of a bit more maybe outside of the box. I do love this concept of looking for jobs through connection. Not
Yeah.
connection who I know, but connection like you had with this
With
this
the
chef,
chef.
right,
Yeah.
at the restaurant,
Yeah.
where there was a connection between you, and to him that was enough to know,
Yes.
not to show on a piece of paper of what you did,
Exactly.
how long did you do it for, and how much achievements do you have.
Yeah.
But the connection is really what sold you to him. And that's a beautiful way to find projects, and those usually are so much fun.
Yes.
They're so fulfilling.
Totally.
And they allow you to kind of see a side of you that can thrive and really like flourish to the next level.
If I'm thinking about this right now, it's actually like since I started freelancing in
19?
2017,
17.
because my previous contract finished December 2016. So I
Mhm.
became a fully I had 6 months of like, what the heck am I doing with my life? Who am I? Whatever. And then I became officially a freelancer in June 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It's been more than 6 years now that I'm a freelancer, and then I own, since 2020, I own a company with my
You're
husband,
full
etc.
swing creative
Full
and
swing,
doing
managing my
different
own
options
time, doing my thing, whatever. But for me, the biggest click professionally and personally when I transitioned from one to the other was the interview process.
Oh,
I don't go to interviews.
yeah.
You can still call them like that, but for me, it's not an interview. I'm sitting down here. You have a need, which you call a job description.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here as a service provider, and I'm telling you, I'm good for this because I'm the perfect fit for this because I can offer you service ABCD that matches your need ABCD, right?
Yeah, but it's also, the interview will always be a little different when you
Totally.
are quote unquote interviewing, for a lack of a better word, a contractor or a freelancer, because you try to contract out to solve a solution,
To solve a
not
problem.
to
Yeah.
not to literally fill a job that's
Yeah.
a 9 to 5 job, and hopefully it's a permanent job, and hopefully it's going to last for the rest of your life.
It's a really different mindset.
It's a different mindset.
Yeah.
And so,
Which makes it also, I have to say, and I don't know if I'm saying this because now I'm quite established professionally, but it makes it for me, and I'm thinking about the last interview I've ever had. I call it interview because they call it interview, but
yeah.
okay, the last whatever was like last November. And it was, I didn't prepare for it. I just like sat down, went there, went on a call with them, meetings and stuff. It was a couple of different times and stuff. And in my mind I was like, it would be good to get this job. It would be good to get this contract because it's really cool, and I got the contract, of course. But if I don't get it, there's so many other things I can do out there.
But there's also another part to this, I want to say, which is kind of a step before the actual conversation interview component of it. To me, consulting, whenever I consult, it doesn't matter what it is, design, business consulting, previous HR consulting, it doesn't matter. There's a different way of going about the interview. Meaning, when I was looking for my first corporate jobs, you go on LinkedIn, you go onto a platform, and you apply. When you're a freelancer, maybe starting out, maybe sometimes you have to submit like a proposal or what have you, but it's also referral. It's also, again, through a connection sometimes, where, again, I don't mean the
No,
kind of
not
the
like I know someone, so I get
yeah,
the job.
oh,
No, no, no,
I
no.
know the big guy in there, and he's gonna get me a job because someone knows someone, and kind of
No,
that's
no,
the way
no.
you get
Like the click
get a
that
job.
you have with the person or
the
something.
the right, the discernment that people do, like
Yeah.
the connection when we meet people, when we have a conversation with people, and through conversations people pick up on your skills and talents and your personality. So I do see kind of it being different in the consulting world. Again, maybe not that first project that you have to
No,
kind of
at
when
the
you're starting out.
beginning, because at the beginning you're still stepping away from that corporate
Absolutely,
mentality.
there's still a little bit of a shift.
totally.
You're closing one door, opening another. You're kind of testing your ground. You're seeing how it evolves. What does it entail? It's a different mindset coming out of the corporate world or a 9 to 5 job into like the business world, or kind of, in your own space. And
Yeah.
so it's like, so with that, because there's that mindset shift and kind of it just approaching your business or consulting in a different way, it's also those opportunities that you find that then invite you for that interview, because again, they just don't know maybe a better word for it. It's a little bit of a different approach to it.
And I get that, the first impression is always like, or not the first impression, but like when you are a company looking for a specific profile or like a service or something like that, oh, we need a graphic designer, oh, we need a communication strategist, whatever. You always send kind of like a CV, whatever. But
well, sure, but
because I get it, and again, I work with like, sometimes I work with like multi-million euro contracts, so there is a specific transparency procedure. I work with public funds and stuff sometimes, so I know that there is a specific procedure. But like, silly thing, I haven't written a cover letter in like
but it's
7 years.
But even with that, there's a process that you kind of have to do, but it's almost like it's a different conversations that are happening.
Totally.
And then I do want to say too, we are talking about kind of entrepreneurial and freelancing, because that's what you and I do.
Yeah.
That's where we thrive. We don't thrive in the 9 to 5 jobs, corporate jobs, where we are multifaceted, right? So we don't have that linear of like, I just want to be, let's say this, and I want to become an expert, and I just want to work for a corporate
and that's
world.
what I'm going to do.
We're not saying that like everyone needs to leave the corporate world.
No. You're one of those that, you might be one of those that wants to keep that separation of work and hobby,
and
or
maybe
passion.
You enjoy it, right?
Exactly.
Just tunnel vision, focus, and get like an expert at like a one specific job.
Totally.
Maybe you thrive in this kind of, it's almost like, kind of going up the levels and promotions and getting, kind of a slower pace, right? Maybe you do.
Yeah.
Maybe you are someone who likes to be, quote unquote, kind of told what to do and how to go about it, or kind of give you an assignment and a deadline.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur, because it does require a certain personality to be it and thrive in it.
Yeah. And enjoy it, really.
Enjoy it. So that's why I want to like kind of point that out. So,
we sometimes we talk in like more general terms, but I also feel that we have some very specific experiences and in life in general and professionally. So that's kind of our bread and butter, or our cup of tea, let's say.
I do want to ask one question though. Well, ask something to maybe like ponder about, right? Because again, going back to the conditioning of productivity and us being productive, and everyone wants to be productive because no one wants to have the label of being lazy or not doing anything or what have you, right? Again, I do feel that productivity is a label of a conditioned mind. Now, how about if we shifted into the mindset of, we are living this life, we should be living a happy life.
Yes.
Right? So happy life is basically, again, just figuring out what is that ABCD of you, or maybe it's just A going all the way across. It does mean the professional life as well. But some people are like chasing something to be called productive, or to do what the society tells you to do. And we forget that whatever we decide to do, and whether it's five different things, or if it's one, you have to love it. You have to enjoy it. You only have one life, and it's a very short one.
Yes.
Stay tuned for more and join our community at AuthenticSpacePodcast.com and on Instagram at AuthenticSpacePodcast.